All right. How my light looking? What's going on, y'all? Let me just cut my little light on. It's kind of a little low, man. The sun is not as bright. What's going on, y'all? It's Greg. Greg said it. This is not a night edition. This is a quote unquote winter storm edition. If you can look outside it's just as plain. Maybe some rain come, cold weather come. Maybe you'll see what it is. But somehow, about probably half, if not more, half of the country has been under this ice thing. This time of year, went from like the bottom of California all the way across North Texas, all the way across the middle. Didn't quite hit Georgia. They don't locked everybody down. Bought up all the stuff in the grocery stores. All that good stuff. Where y'all located? If you're in the chat, where are you located? Replay. Where you at? Well, yeah, is your nice storm? One of the things that people concern themselves about times like this is the power, and of course the power. Everybody's so dependent on the internet. Where would you be without Wi-Fi? Where are you without the internet? You streaming your TV. People like me say, "Hey, we streaming. Ain't got no cable." All that good stuff. We see Texas down there. You know, what part? You in the southern Texas, you probably didn't get touched, but I think the north part of Texas got a little snow. We've been saying it's a thing since the last few years where Texas started getting snow. That's how you know this stuff is weird. Texas and Southern California, Houston shouldn't have got no snow. But I don't know, they got some ice, but either way, it's becoming a thing this time of year, consistently over the last few years. Now I know in Atlanta we used to get it bad in February, coming when I was growing up, ice storms and stuff like that, and power line, tree limbs, and stuff like that. It was ugly. That was over 20 years ago. Now, lately this January, around this Martin Luther King, it's been hit consistently over the last at least few years. But it come with it, y'all. But like I said, we so dependent on these cell phones and Wi-Fi and stuff. That's when people get ugly. They can't survive, man. They really can't survive without these cell phones and stream. You watching Netflix and chilling. What is Netflix chilling without the internet, right? This internet is ugly. So you lose that with power, but I guess you lose power, you're losing anyway. If it was regular TV, you ain't got no power, you ain't got it. But that internet is ugly. Because you can have power and not have the internet, because the internet kind of fickle. So I think that's what people kind of like forget, and people don't know what to do. They really don't know what to do without that. I mean, they ain't reading no books. They don't have to put out no cards. People really don't they go crazy without their cell phone. And that's what we on right now. I mean, we on YouTube. That's the internet. It's internet. You know. So I understand. You trying to get stuff done. A lot of your work and stuff is online. So shout out to anybody who get messed up by the storm. I know across the middle it's just there's high levels of snow. Indiana's and even I think right now across Pittsburgh all the way up to New York, it's just been crazy. Yeah, I see Chicago. I know Chicago got hit, but Chicago always get hit. See these places by that water, they like you talk about Chicago, Detroit, you talk about the Bostons, the New Yorks, all them, they by that water. You know it's going down. Them big bodies of water, they know how to create some doggone snowstorms. Is that moisture is abundant. Georgia, we don't really get it like that. Some our mountains get it because of the elevation, but we don't really get it because we really don't have no water like that around us. And the parts that are surrounded by water, they like further south. You know, 82 degrees in South Florida. 82 degrees. That's scary. That's scary this time of year. About them storms and stuff. But I can see that though, because I know they say this storm came so called because the warm weather from the south met the cold weather from the north, and boom, big bang. So I can see it can be warm down there. And we had a little warm. It was warm a couple days ago. They're like, oh, we know the storm coming because it's warm. And technically we're not that cold. We cold, but it's getting colder, and over the next few days, and then it's gonna be real cold. And that's when they talking about really the ice really is more of a factor then. Because if it's rain, it's supposed to rain. That cold hit tomorrow, and the next few days it be in the teens. That's nothing but ice. So I think that's what we get hit more by. DMV, we're getting with something we haven't had in 10 years. Well, like what? I thought they. I mean, I know they get snow, but maybe they ain't had like 20 inches. I don't know. 10 years now is like 5 years, y'all. Like you be thinking like that was 10 years ago. It seemed like it was just a few years ago. So 10 years is fast now. But because I sometimes I be like, that was 10 years ago. Yeah, that was 10 years ago. Time's moving. But y'all, I'm glad y'all came through. Appreciate y'all time. Whether you're here now live, good for you. You can get in the chat or the replay because I know people watch the replay. It's Sunday, the timestamp. Yeah, Snowpocalypse. That was 2014. Yeah, that was over 10 years ago. I remember Snowpocalypse. I was out there in that Snowpocalypse. At work, while I'm sitting there looking at the milky clouds. That don't look right. And I saw that thing came. I was working at a school, man, and that thing hit in the middle of the day, and I saw them bus drivers hanging around. I said, "But they know what's coming." But them folks got stuck. We barely got out of there. We barely got them kids out of there. And then I mean, I was going up a hill, it was iced out. I mean, that's junk accumulated. I never seen snow accumulate that fast. It accumulated so fast. And my little camera went up. I saw people spinning. I had good tires, good car. The highway was empty. But on the other side of Atlanta, it was bang bang. Them people was sleeping in their cars, leaving their cars. So I was on the right side of 285 because it was smooth. I got in right before the doggone bottom fell out of that snowpocalypse. You know, I got home, watched that mess on the news. I was like, ooh. Boy, if I had been on the other side of town, boy, I would have been jacked up because them folks was looking crazy. They was walking and in the hotels and in the cars, and the kids got stuck at schools who weren't smart enough to get out on time, or maybe they had late, after school, and their parents couldn't get to them. I don't know. That snowpocalypse was ugly. For y'all don't know about snowpocalypse in Atlanta. That's the standard of storms now. They went back to February 2014. I had somebody had nerve to tell me. That's a prime example. I remember that was in February. That it don't happen, never happen in February. That's a lie. That our biggest storms have been in February from when I grew up, and that's prime example. I knew snowpocalypse was in February. It probably was right before Valentine's Day. Atlanta, by the way, if y'all don't know, our biggest storm period really starts. I don't know what it is. Good old Atlanta MLK Day. That's like the start of the craziness. From like you can really expect the storms to happen between that month, MLK Day up to pretty much Valentine's Day. That you out the window. It's like hurricane season. That's our storm season. That's our winter storm season. Now February is the coldest month, but as far as snowstorms is usually gonna happen right around MLK Day up to Valentine's Day. That's when you out of the woods out there. And then we still pretty cold in March, man. Our March is probably doing as colder than January because we don't really we slowly get cold. So yeah, that's a little, y'all know how Atlanta get during the summer. If you've been here, it get hot. I'm used to this ain't hot as it to me as it used to be, even though they say it's hotter. But hot Atlanta can run hot between June. Sometimes we get a late start, but really back in my day, June hit, even May, it would get hot. Lately, it's been slow. Boom, boom. So really, from May, June until September, you cooking in Atlanta. You cooking with grease. And I think August is our hottest month. It's not July. I think August is our hottest month, and I think February is our coldest month. Little lesson on Atlantaology. So y'all, I'm here to ease some of y'all. I got it's kind of like a vent session. Feel free to vent. Cause I feel this thing of y'all Coloradians, Buff Nations, and been through a lot. A lot of people been through a lot, before Coach Prime, but you've been through a lot with Coach Prime. They had that first year, 4-8. I feel like that was a better than 4-18. They brought it on themselves in a lot of ways because their defense was really subpar, and the line didn't block worth nothing. They had a lot of penalties, and I don't think half of them penalties was on them. I think the refs really did a work on them with penalties. I'll be the first to say it, and I'll be the last to say it, really. But what we're seeing here is they had a good second year, and that was kind of all right. I had them going 10-2. They went 9-3 in bowl game and lost. And that was all right, especially compared to where they came from. And that's progress, but I feel like they could have did better. But they had still some holes, right? Especially the injuries and the depth hit them on the D-line and stuff on the back end. They barely made it through that. This past year was just unacceptable. So many levels. This past year, you're looking at a team that couldn't figure out who the quarterback was, even though we thought that was figured out. And we thought if one quarterback was in, they talked that talk like they had different stuff with one and the other. And you thought they had really was smart enough to build something around that quarterback. They did. Juju, he wasn't ready. They say he wasn't ready, and maybe he wasn't. I don't see why. Because he was, I know a lot of stuff you can get away with in high school because you're bigger than somebody, fast somebody, more talented, you're smarter than them. But when it comes to skills like throwing and reading, I think a lot of that should translate. Like your size doesn't translate, but your skills should translate to the point where you don't look like you just brand new. In a lot of ways, it's like Juju looked brand new after being there since December. And it was like he did some good things, but he didn't do some good things. So my thing is, I don't know what was going on. I figured the same way all the quarterbacks look bad. Schematically, it wasn't a good fit for nobody. So it makes sense that they got that offense coordinator out of there, because it really, you talking about 2 years and a half of just Shador carried that thing. We know he did. What's going on? We say, yeah, didn't get the alert. Yeah, I don't know. Man. Phil. Um, Brooklyn. What's going on, Brooklyn? I know Brooklyn getting they snow. At least it's on the way. So, but that's another place that's used to that snow. But he said the players gave up early. I just think when you got so much inconsistency, so much confusion going on, I think a big part of why those players really didn't have a lot of hope was because you don't really know. I don't know what happened, man. I think Coach Prime keep a lot of stuff secret. I think he keep a lot of stuff secret because the Amazon, I don't, maybe they didn't do the contract this year. Usually this time they be ready to drop Amazon. They would have dropped Amazon by now. The first couple of years Amazon was there. And they usually tell the truth in Amazon. I saw it coming the whole time. And one thing about Coach Prime, he's a salesman. He gonna sell the hope and the dreams on you and all that stuff, the good parts. And it seems like he hide the bad parts, honestly. He don't like to talk about the negatives, and I maybe call it being positive. But I think for people like us watching, they turn around, they can be misled. So here we are going to the fourth season. Some of the most avid advocates of Colorado, avid fans, they don't want to believe. They tired of getting their hopes up. Who's in that? Put it in the chat. Just put a 100 if you agree with the people who ain't quite. No, don't put 100. Thumbs up if you feel like you with Colorado. Thumbs down if you don't really feel like you really feeling it. You want to wait and see. Tracy for who's Tracy? Tracy's no longer there for the Amazon. I thought Amazon just came with just the contract they had since Colorado. Thumbs up, you still with them for now. Thumbs up. Should have been honest till once we saw the kickers, punters, and special teams guys being our main vocal leaders, captains. Oh, the governors and all that. Long snappers. He's oh Lord, he's desperate. Thumbs up. I don't know where the emoji is. It's all right. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Thumbs up is easy on the phone. You watching on the phone and you can do thumbs up. If you're on a laptop, I don't know what you put the little V. The little V go up and then the V go down on your keyboard, something like that. Where is that at? You probably can do that on your laptop. Thumbs up. I'm watching on a big computer. Yep. Let's say locked in. We got some hopefuls here. And, but I understand why people have some doubts. Now, I'm not going to statistically, I'm not going to throw stacks at you. And, I'm on YouTube right now, so I'm not on StreamYard and nothing like that where I can pull up videos and stuff like that. I'm still playing with these algorithms. See, because, y'all say YouTube ain't giving you no what they call it, alerts or whatever, because you got the notifications. I would think it would be easier for YouTube to show it than it would if you're using a third party. So that's why I'm kind of like testing it out. Really, we almost beat 4 good teams actually with bad defense in the QB room. Yeah, we finna get into that because I've been trying to get into it, but it's no better time than the day. Because it's kind of like me, kind of like fully saying what I want to say, and also give y'all a chance in the chat, or whatever. I ain't gonna be able to pull it to the screen, but have your way in the chat because I'm gonna give y'all my perspective. So when I talked a couple years ago, I made a 10 or 2 analysis, and it was an analysis. It wasn't a hope and a dream, it wasn't a roll of a dice. It was based off I knew what they had coming back and what they did the year before. I felt like that really was an 8-14. And I think they matured, and then they brought in some more pieces to help them out. So I just knew, hey, they can get there. And they almost did. Seems less respectfully. So, and I'm also, y'all know the schedule is out, right? So the schedule is out, and when you look at it, I don't really get too much into the schedule because I don't really know what other teams have. So it's kind of like a waste of time. You only going off of their reputation, and you know a lot of these teams lost their coach. Like people still talking big on Utah. Utah, long time coaches left. Where he went to Penn or something like that. He went up there to Big Ten. So it's like, was it Penn or Michigan? Something like that. And so he moved up. He had like he was gonna retire, and he said, "Well, shoot, I can't miss this opportunity to go to a bigger program because I don't know what y'all." Utah ain't never been that. You know, Utah ain't never been that. They've been that at their level. I remember when teams like Utah and New Mexico State used to be a snack for the SEC. I just remember Georgia used to play them for cupcake games. And, the Wyomings and. So I ain't never had no respect for Utah like that. Utah was at a lower conference, a lower Division I conference. They was never that. So that's how I see. I see them as little brother. And people try to sell me Utah. So this Utah, even with all the rankings, they have not lived up to any rankings. They have not won no conference championship recently. I think they might have won right before Coach Prime got there, something like that. Was really probably their best year. And when I watched them play Colorado, I'm not impressed. Now they solid team. They kind of, you know what, Utah, and that makes sense because they're in the same state. I think Utah reminds me a lot of BYU. BYU is one of them programs that used to hear about name wise, but they was in the lower conference as well. And they both got a similar style. They both like the Mormon. They get the old players. They in Utah, so that really makes sense now that I think about it. Because if anybody out compared to I can BYU, they usually are solid teams, but they're not super talented. They're not gonna beat no Georgia. They're not gonna go and do what Indiana did. They never have no breakout players. Like they're gonna have decent players. You ain't finna just run over them. They're not gonna be just a losing team. They're not gonna go and lose and only win 3-4 games a year. They're solid like that, but they're not. And I think Georgia Tech has been like that lately. So when people say, "Oh, you called out Georgia Tech, you can Utah, you said certain teams, and Colorado still lost." Yeah, Colorado still lost a lot of people, but Colorado also had them teams beat. They had BYU beat. They had Georgia Tech beat. They gave them games away. Utah, they just flopped. But Utah probably right behind Arizona as far as the worst they got beat. But a lot of them games just got away from them. But they was going toe to toe with all these teams before it either got away or they lost. There's nobody who just stepped on them. I think Arizona kind of pulled away from them more from beginning to end than anybody. Everybody else had struggled with them. Now the problem is you're struggling with a team who has no offensive identity at all. I mean, at all. You can say they didn't have no identity, but when they had Shador, they had something because he gonna take over wherever else everything fell short. But when you talk about a team had no identity nowhere, they moving linemen around, they moving quarterbacks around, running backs. They don't know who's gonna play. Then they get hurt. The play calling, you throw it left, throw it right. Even the defense is picking off plays like they on offense. Everything was so predictable. And here you are struggling with Colorado. There's no reason to struggle with Colorado. Colorado had no offense. The defense, well, they was hot and cold, but for the most part, they can stuff you, but very undisciplined. Linebackers undisciplined. DB play inconsistent. We didn't know who the safety was. Byatt kind of kicked in later, but he was only really the guy. Then even without us even being able to figure out, Ben, all of them started getting hurt. Even without, we couldn't even choose at that point. We're like, oh, they ain't playing. These folks, we ain't got no safety. The cornerbacks, the third and fourth string cornerbacks playing. They end up playing better than the original guys. And it's like Colorado, man. Everybody had hand muffs on. You really couldn't see where they were going. You really couldn't. And it's very unpredictable, very unstable. Yet they was in most of the games. They supposed to got beat. Because how do you expect to win when you be losing? You beating yourself. You beating yourself by not being prepared. You beating yourself by not having a plan. How do we expect you to win? Now, did we know all that? No, but we eventually saw it. We eventually saw like, what in the world going on, Colorado? What? We didn't want to believe it. Like, because we feel like you had all this time. Both of your quarterbacks came in this time last year. They was there at the bowl game. Extra practice. Well, that was something miss me with that extra bowl game. They had on nothing, y'all. They got the playoff. They trying to expand the playoff, and they will. I don't know how far. The bowl games are dead. You might as well give the bowl games to the FCS and let them do bowl games. Because bowl games no longer have their impact. They no longer have the intent. The intent of a bowl game was everybody had a postseason, and the sponsors ate off of it. And you had lower bowl games, and you had higher bowl games, but they all was bowl games. So there was no reason to say I ain't gonna play in the bowl games because everybody was glad to get to a bowl game. But once you had the playoff, that's a division. That's not just a higher and lower. That's a whole nother class. It's almost like you don't create a whole nother level of football. Because you had FCS that has a playoffs, then you had the bowl game. The bowl game was higher than the playoff somehow. Then you add the playoff over here. So it's like, well, shoot, what good is the bowl game? I want to go to playoff because the playoff is the new measure of the new standard. And yeah, you'll keep the same bowl game names, the Fiesta Bowl, Peach Bowl. You'll keep all that, but they still in the playoff model. So no longer the playoff, no longer the bowl game is the goal. The playoff is the goal. So you started to see that immediately the bowl games die. So it's like you made the bowl game. Who cares? We watching the playoffs. It's almost like the bowl games is junior varsity. Like we watching the playoff now. We went from 4-game playoff, 14 playoff to 12. They might go up to a 16. I don't know, add a little wild card version in there or something like that. Or 20. I don't know how far they had a whole nother round in there. I don't know. But they're gonna have a fit because with the portal and they trying to figure out when they do that and when the season starts to fit all that in. I don't know who making these decisions, but it's a clash. You got the NIL going on. You got the portal going on. You got all these things going on that is weakening everybody. It's changed the power, the dynamics, the dichotomy of it all. Because you got to think about it. How does an Indiana do this? Indiana is a nobody, and you took a coach from a FCS, now FBS program, because they FBS, lower FBS program. James Madison. I mean, I definitely remember them like FCS. Like a lot of other programs that were FCS. And it's like you pull a coach from a lower program to a bigger program who's the lower of the bigger programs, and they don't just compete, they dominate. They beat the mess out of Alabama and the people in their conference, they wasn't Alabama ain't the only one they beat the mess out of. I mean, they played a few close games, but everything else, man, they just pretty much manhandle people. If you make a mistake, man, they'll bury you. They'll put 60 on you. And you like, how do they do that? No big names. Quarterback won the Heisman. He was no big name. He was nobody at Cal. He was nobody out of high school, really. So it's not like he was some 5-star that everybody want. And you go get a no-name quarterback who become a name, no-name running back, no-name receivers, no-name anything. A whole bunch of no-names, and not only compete, they beat the mess out of everybody. You can't do nothing without that. And so now it's like, it changes the whole mindset. I've been doing videos about it. Some people want to play with. I think Coach Prime stuck his toe in it, but I think the people around him still was so, no, we need some Texas boys. And then these fans like, yeah, we got this dude from Texas who's the third, fourth string or the fourth strings. And it's like, it's confusing. But when you look at Indiana, it's like it's no longer a hypothesis that this can work, that you can move from a lower level and have instant success and have consistent success. And with the players that the other people didn't necessarily want, I don't know how it will affect them in the future because now the big time players gonna want to go there. And I don't know if maybe the coach do better with the no names. Maybe the egos and stuff not there. I don't know. Maybe that not have to run people down in the portal because he ain't trying to get the best players out the portal. He get the players that fit his system. That's the mindset. That would help a lot of things because now people truly gonna recruit versus, oh, this is a 5-star, 4-star, and he really ain't all that. Or maybe he just I don't know. You know, you say that the cat out the bag that Indiana's just an older team. That's so was BYU, and they ain't never in the championship. That's just it's just ironic that that was the case, but that's not the factor because you can't use that because that means Utah should be in the championship every year. Utah supposed to be good and they be ranked and they never make it to the playoffs. They don't even make it to the championship with their own conference. It's not age alone that's a factor clearly because it's other teams who historically have older players that helps clearly because those teams are not losing teams. They're consistent programs and whatever. But that's not the excuse because we've seen young teams win a national championship too. I think Miami is a fairly young team in a lot of ways. Outside their quarterback. But Indiana got something stronger than this old players. We can try to write it off as that. It's something else going on. If you really know and pay attention to sports, it takes certain things. You can't purely put on their age that they play well together. You can't purely put on their age that they don't make a lot of mistakes. You surprised when they get a penalty or do some bonehead or drop a ball or fumble. They ain't missing coverages. Now, I think a lot of that can be maturity, but that's the case. Everybody get old players. Colorado had a bunch of old players. Really this year. Then they say Colorado. Let's just use that example. They say Colorado had one of the oldest rosters. You know, they end up having almost 40 seniors. Y'all remember that now? You remember that? So we're gonna use wow. How does Colorado? Okay, they didn't have to do what Indiana did, but where did it benefit Colorado with all them old players? They had more old players than younger players. That's part of the why their portal has to be so big because they somehow had all these old players on this roster last year. A lot of fifth-year guys or seniors that came over because of the portal, and that's the type of people that Coach Prime was going after. So we can't fully say he was going after the Indiana model. Technically, you say going after older guys specifically. It ain't just going after older guys, it's going after talent, and maybe they're older and talented. We had a whole bunch of older guys, and what did it benefit Colorado? Colorado went 3-9. It's no translation in age. Just like I don't think it automatically is NIL. I don't think NIL automatic because that's the case. Texas A&M always had high money. It didn't help them. Texas Tech had high money. It got them further than they normally go, but it didn't get them over the hump in the playoff. It's not just age. It's not just money. It's a formula. That's why it's probably going to be a movie about this guy, especially if he do it again. But he already done proven. He came in his very first year and went to the playoff. Only lost 2 games to the 2 teams that ironically was in the national championship. Then you come in the next year, go undefeated and win a national championship. The first one in this era with the 16 games or whatever, and win a championship undefeated. And did it pretty smoothly. Played a couple close games, but did it very smoothly. And a lot of people doubt him. I didn't doubt him because I knew it was that something that I'm trying to explain. I don't know the ins and outs of what he do, but his fruit is evident. You know, his fruit is evident. He had a lot of players to lead James Madison to come with him, but clearly they didn't all them. Because let me tell you how I know. This tell you deeper. James Madison didn't fall off, sir, ma'ams. Look at that. James Madison still had another good year. They've been ranked for the last 2 years since he left. So he left, the coach left. I'm sure he took some coaches with him, and I'm sure he took some of the key players with him. James Madison was in the playoff this year. So this guy, James Madison, was in the playoff. Then they go to Oregon. This is 2 years after the head coach left, and took his staff and took players and James Madison. How much talent do they got? For them, you lose your coach. Most teams plummet when they lose, especially a coach. He got to be clearly he's a good coach. They were good when he was there. Indiana's good when he was there. And yet James Madison with a whole new coach, new players, because they don't took people like Puns and all of them. And James Madison still made the playoffs. They still was ranked in the top 12. Yeah, they're lower level, but they have been ranked ever since the man left. They was ranked with him and without him. That tells you it's something else going on with how people are building these programs. Colorado didn't make it. James Madison did. Basically, you had two James Madisons in the playoff. You had two James Madisons in the playoff. Yeah, we can get into it. So we can get into why I feel like Colorado can make it. And let's start with the negative. So I see in chat because it's still a lingering of some skepticism and confusion, which is fair about some things that was said on other programs, on other podcasts. About how Colorado culture is and how they not watching film. When we know they not watching film, Coach Prime always complained about them watching film and stuff like that. And it's like you asking them to watch it or y'all watching together. So I always like that was interesting. So you got that. Then you got people saying the culture bad. And I don't know, because Coach Prime still talking like, hey, y'all do this, y'all gone. It's still that tone, like, they say it was tight. It wasn't fun. And maybe that do make people tighten up. I don't know. And coaches feel a certain way. We will see. We will see how Marion respond. Because if Marion feel like I can't operate up under this environment, boom, 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 that will say a lot about from a coaching perspective about how they do things and how from the top to the bottom. As far as what's allowed in the environment. You also talk about players who don't respect the coaches. Now, I don't know, man. I know somebody say Seton didn't respect Gunner. You got Gunner. You got two other coaches, two other NFL level coaches on not Gunner, but Coach Prime. Coach Prime do that. He put people that he like and he wants to give people opportunity and he respect. He don't necessarily. I don't know if he necessarily look at who better. Maybe he look at who he feel deserve it, who he feel he trusts. I don't know if Gunner the best guy. I don't know if he should be over Andre Gerard. I don't know he should be over those other guys because he's been there longer and he's fought the good fight with Coach Prime. Because you got two other NFL level linemen, coaches, and maybe they would do things differently if they was the guy. Because I think ultimately he is the guy. They basically helping him out. Maybe they would do something different. Coach Prime better be ready to make some changes fast if it's not working because they better not handle Marion because they got three O-line coaches that really able to be three separate O-line coaches. But I know at least one of them, really two of them, came down to help Coach Prime. And so they're not really tripping on like a title and then like that. Saying like a Warren Sapp. They're not tripping like that. They're not like this. I'm trying to build my career behind this and you messing up my coins. They're not thinking like that. They came to help. So they got to figure that out because as long as it's not too many Indians and not enough Chiefs type thing, then you good. I don't know what's going on behind the scene, but I do know it's a matter of time before it reveals itself. And what we seen last year is a revelation of what's going on behind the scenes. I think every year we've seen them lose, we saw stuff bubble up. The locker room tripping. Folks just not playing. And they all end up gone. And you hear the rumbling in the background. Where there's smoke, there's fire. That's one thing we can say. Where there is smoke, there is fire. So the fact there's been a whole reset on the team, that's a good thing. Because it's not a whole lot of people who chose to stay or allowed to stay that's going to have the bring back a lot of the negative attitude. The people who want to do stuff differently, they want something, they gone. Even a Jordan Seaton. I think a Jordan Seaton probably at best will say, I want to go back to the days of Shador. I remember when we did this. Or he may, I knew Jordan Seaton was toast when I watched him throw them temper tantrums at practice last year. It's like he was unhappy or he was trying to express something that he wanted to see that wasn't happening. And he was acting out at practice. Whether he was throwing fits, he was vocal, or whether he was trying to fight, or whether he was walking away from coaches, or Coach Prime had to pull him to the side. I knew that was not the same. I don't, Bucket was showing it. I knew that wasn't like good. Just how his frustration. And maybe you do need to leave when you feel like you're a man amongst boys. Jealousy is like it always elevated him above everybody else, even guys older than him. I don't think that it's a good thing when you feel like you the only guy who's the guy and everybody else is like lower. So at least when he go to LSU, he'll somewhat blend in. Yeah, he'll be the top tackle or the rank, whatever, Jordan C. But he gonna be next to other guys who at least played at a level that's respectable or NFL bound, or they was also highly ranked guys. Because when you're the only highly ranked lineman, maybe it's just not good for you. Maybe you need to go into an environment where you can just be you. And maybe Jordan C didn't want that pressure. Maybe I don't know. But when you take him off, now you got all linemen on the same level. And that's what Indiana had. It was no big name lineman. There was one. And I think when you remove a Jordan Seaton, you remove that pressure not off of him, but you allow the rest of the line to be who they are. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing for him, and that's a good thing for the team because it definitely needs to be a reset in energy. Let's say that Indiana's coach has been coached 40 years. Yeah, you can see his experience. You can see his experience. His experience is showing out in his results. So it's not a surprise that he's producing on that level. Definitely. I do believe that Colorado's lack of experience, Deion's lack of experience, the other coaches' lack of experience has been shown. I mean, you're talking about from not able to use the timeouts to just some of the strategy, even the type of coaches you get. Like, I think the type of coaches he getting now, getting in the beginning. The type of players he's getting now, those are not the type of players that he was getting in the beginning. He had some, maybe had to fill in because he had to, but he's my I'm individually involved this time. It's like, oh, so you wasn't before. When you hear certain comments he's making, he's definitely doing things that you would expect from him, but he's speaking like this is the first time he's doing it. So I think he's changed a lot of things. That's why I believe that in some small sense, why they'd be better. But this is some things that I feel. If I can lean on one thing that really can give me an idea of what's going to happen, this is what's going on. I don't know Marion. I didn't know Marion. Appreciate the chats y'all keep bringing in. I don't know him from other than just me kind of watching him. Just like me watching the coach Singing Eddie or whatever you call him up there at Indiana. I know what I know. I know what I see. I know your fruit. I know your results speak for themselves. So I see you bring in a guy like Marion who's hungry. He's young, but he's been doing it a long time. And just like he talked to them boys, whether he got the cowboy hat on or off, you see he go out of the personality. He dance, he playing with the kids. Another time he like this, and they know that switch. They need that switch. I wasn't even about to say that, but they need that switch. That's one thing that they lacked when Shador and Travis was there. They didn't have that switch. They would be playing at practice, and I kept saying, cut the music off. And they cut it off last year, but it's like they didn't have that switch. Marion got that switch. He's a live example. He be with him at the meetings. He's an example. He be in there. They didn't know player. That's coach. He all in front of the doggone. He's stretching. He's is giving them the example. He's doing that, working out with them. He in the gym. They're way more involved. That's another thing. The coaches, they wasn't there like that last year. Now the year before, kind of all the coaches up in there looking around at that. Like the first year, they was like that. Second year, they was kind of like that. Last year, they kind of fell off from that. It seemed like it was a ghost town with them and Swayze. It was just like Swayze had them all to themselves up to practice. I didn't see the coaches last year. I remember that. I'm like, they do things different with Swayze. Because it was like he was the parent and no coaches weren't really there. They might pop up like a scout and check in. But these coaches up in there, it's almost like they blending in with the players. That's one thing I do notice. I do notice that. And so that means they're more engaged. They've intentionally been more engaged. Now, so here's when you look at Marion, he has a switch. He goes in and out, and he shows them how to go in and out. It's a time to relax and bro, have a good time. It's a time to boom, focus. And a lot of young people don't know how to do that. It's like a kid. You don't play with kids because they don't know how to stop playing. Like you can play with a kid, and then you be like, all right, stop. They keep on going. You got to tell them to stop. Or you play with a kid, and then when you get serious, they still playing with you. Like you don't see, they have no idea of that switch. They got to learn how to do that because it's a time to relax and joke, and it's a time to be stone cold focused. And most people don't learn that until later in life. If they have a switch at all, they either hot or cold. Marion definitely has that. But this is why I think he is different. Because people say Coach Prime had opportunity in his lifetime. Coach Prime was already rich. What are we talking about? Coach Prime was already successful. He was already a name brand. He didn't need this. He wanted this. He can leave football today and he's still Coach Prime. It doesn't change who he is because his reputation, his career is already established. Him as a coach, maybe, but it don't change him. He can go right back on TV. He can go right back to TV shows, right back to commercials. Affleck. Win, lose, or draw, he's going to be Coach Prime. Nike shoes. This is not no benefit. It's an add addition on to his resume, but it's not needed because he's who he is outside of this. This is extra. Marion is a coach. He didn't have a solid NFL career. He's building a legacy as a coach. All right. As a coach, he's built his own offensive play calling. He's built his own system. He's known for that. That's his legacy. He has a future as a coach. He wants to be a head coach. He wants to be a legend. And you can tell that. And he's trying to communicate that same mindset to the boys. He said to Marion, he said, YOLO tried to marry. They kind of kid joke with YOLO and said, get your chest up. Yeah. It's a thing, man, that I don't know. Maybe it's my ability to discern. Maybe it's just everybody don't have that, but you got to pay attention to people and see. Some people don't know how to check people out and know who not to run up on. They don't never get knocked out, and people like, well, you ain't see that. Back up off of them. People don't have that. And some people like, I can see he probably gonna hurt somebody. They can see it. Marion is a guy who he gonna prove it to y'all who doubt him. I don't know about him. I don't know how you doubt him. You should see it in him. Like you should have seen in Travis Hunter. He was gonna refuse to get beat. He was silly and corny and all that. Everybody make a joke. Oh, Travis ain't good. You don't see that look in his eyes. It's certain people got a look that they not finna lose. It's not an option. And sometimes that is the difference between winning and losing. Losing is not an option. It's not we gonna see. Marion has I'm not gonna lose. I'm not gonna fail. Look on him. I could be wrong, but I highly doubt it. I'm gonna tell you. Yeah, man, get him over. Marion offensively is what's gonna make a difference in this team. The difference between last year, I know everybody want to dog the defense. I'm first to dog the defense. The difference between this year and last year is the offense, man. Schumer lost. I don't care what y'all say. This is how. Now, somebody says Marion went 7-5 at Sac State. What was the Sac State record the year before? Was his record better or worse? Right? So you gotta look at that. In 1 year, implementing his system with less players, and he was still the head coach. He wasn't fully just the offense. He was still split. You don't know the resources they had. The Sac State, they start putting money behind them. So Sac State was worse than before. It's like Coach Prime came and went 9-3. You can say he went 9-3 or whatever. That was his first year. Coach Prime went 4-8 his first year. Marion was implementing. So this is the thing. Of course, the system not perfected in the first year necessarily, but in comparison, see, Coach Colorado had a hump. Y'all got to see this. It's a hump. Georgia Tech, we jump up on them. 14 barely lose. What was the difference? How many points they score a game? Y'all looking at the wrong thing. Win, lose, and draw. How and why was Colorado losing? They didn't score enough points. When they was scoring enough points, what was their record? Shador was known to score, not Schumer. Shador was putting up 30 plus, but he wasn't doing it every game. But when he did, they won. They knew that. When he did, they lost. Kansas, Nebraska, BYU. Kansas State is a anomaly because he Brady mode at the end. You got to look at the fact that, yeah, everybody, you seeing go ran in the NFL, you seeing it in the college already. And you're going to start seeing it in high school. Because high school is where it started. You're going to start to see them kind of start to implement that. So this is what you got to realize. Cleveland had the same issue. They wasn't able to score. That's why they lost. Y'all look at records. What caused the record? What caused Colorado record last year? Specifically, we're talking about Colorado. Let's stick to the point. Colorado had an issue with scoring. Even when the defense was playing good. You talk about the defense all day, you're not watching the game. The defense held up, and all the games they lost, they held up until a certain time. They just broke because the offense kept putting them in a bad spot. The defense wasn't that good, but when the defense did get turnovers, they lost. When the defense did, get them off the field, and maybe they played bad all game, but then they had one good quarter, and the offense just kept not scoring. When they got the turnovers, the offense kept not scoring. But you think you could ain't play football. You run them out because you know what that do. That's Cleveland. It burns you out. They was burnt out by the time Shador got there. They're like, oh man, we need hope. We busting our butt with Dylan Gabriel and Flacco and all that. We can't even win because they can't score. We holding everybody less than 20 and still losing. That's discouraging to a defense. So when your defense gets you off the field and you go and get a ball right back, and they get you off the field and then you go and do something dumb. It's like, why are we playing for us? Y'all must ain't never played ball, never played defense. You feel like doggone, because I'm not offense unless I'm turning the ball over. Even though I got a pick, I'm not scoring. And I give you the ball and you get on the ball right back. And you do this for the whole game. It's only so much fire you're going to put up under your defense to keep getting stops when they feel like all you're going to do is get a ball back. The defense that play the best because they know if I get them the ball, they're going to score. We're going to look good. We want to get the ball back. What happens when you don't want to get the ball back to the offense? We ain't talking about defense right now. We talking about why they lost. They lost because when they did make the stops, the offense didn't convert. So what you keep complaining about them not making stops for? If they're not putting points on the board, they can get 100 freaking stops. If you're not going to do nothing with it, who cares? I'm not exempting that unless you've been on another planet. I'm not exempting the fact that the linebackers was garbage, and I already don't mention that in this video. They had DBs all over the place trying to figure out if people were hurt. But the point is, they did show up at times, especially in certain games. At certain times they did. But offense ain't never show up, really. Show me a game where the offense showed up. They didn't even really show up against like Wyoming. I think, Wyoming and Delaware, they finally cracked over 30. Even in the cupcake games, they didn't even get 30 points. They just couldn't score. They slow score. Oh, they jump out there and score first touchdown. You saw Tennessee with Salter the first drive. They would score. They say, it ain't never been done before. Man, but they ain't score again to the third quarter. Colorado barely broke over 20 points in scoring a game. I don't even think they averaged 20 points a game. And I don't know what it was. Was it the scheme? Was it the quarterback? Was it a combination of both? The reality is, I got to put it back on the coach. because y'all had, if it was the scheme, then y'all should have built the scheme around K Salt. If you gonna make him the quarterback, don't complain about he didn't fit your system, because your system, you had a whole 8-9 months to figure that out. So that's on you. That's on you. But when your offense can do what Marion offense does, that takes a lot of pressure off Colorado, because historically, when Colorado scored, they won. And you take pressure off your defense when you can score 30, 35 plus points a game. Not only because you're so great, but because the type of offense you run is designed to do that. In anybody's system, a wing T, a spread option, and a lot of motion is going to do it. Regardless if it's a national championship team or not, they're going to lead the country in rushing yards. They're going to have a winning season. If that alone tells me they're going to have a winning season, they're going to put up points. And when they put up points, they're going to put up points in a way to put pressure on the other team's offense to not just be able to run down your throat. Because if they're playing from behind, they can't just run the ball 40 times. Especially if, another thing about Marion's offense, they score a lot of points and they take a lot of time off the clock because he do run the ball a lot. He runs the ball a lot. So for all the people who ain't no run game, well, then you got a run game. You don't run the ball significantly more run yards. They're going to use 8 minutes a quarter on the clock, right? So that's why I feel like alone it's going to be different. You complain about them not having a run game. They're going to have a run game. And the run game is not going to just be a run game. It's going to be effective. Regardless who's not on the line, Jordan C not on the line, because how it's designed to trick the mess out of linebackers. And all that blitzing and crap to come out the edge they were doing against Colorado because they was one-dimensional. They can't do that because people going to be going in motion. They're going to have to pay attention, or they're going to be wide, butt naked open. If that man come in motion and go back, and that fool stay there on the edge and he don't go with him, he butt naked open. Boop. And I know he's going to teach his players to do that. And you can't play that way. You can't play in the box when you spread like that. You got two running backs and one going this way, one going that way, the quarterback going out. Man, you're going to have some men eaters out there. You're going to have some grown men at linebacker and some defensive ends, edge rushers. Well, they're going to have to be really on point. And if they get too wide, the middle going to be wide open. So that's why you see an off tackle, man, 8 yards a pop. They got big running backs. They got running backs like the boy out of Alabama. They still got Welch. Welch is very good for that. Welch is very good just straight off the tackle. Now he get cute and try to bounce out, he look foolish, but he just he can hit you for 7-8 yards. And in this offense, that's very beneficial. Because he ain't trying to break it for a touchdown. Because remember, they trying to wear you down. They say they want to play 5 quarters of football. Wear you down, wear the clock down. Guess what that do? Keep your defense on the field. What that do? Keep my defense off the field. So see, y'all keep talking this defensive crap. Your one thing that makes a strong defense is a strong offense. When you got an offense that can run the ball, drain the other team, drain the clock, lure their butt in, and still got a quarterback that can drop it, it's a difference. They didn't have that. So it's foolish to compare because they never had that. That's on Coach Prime. He never had now Sean Lewis, you can say but Sean Lewis' offense was never that dynamic. It's known that this go-go is dynamic because he can have 3 running backs back there, and then they can go in motion and with interchangeable pieces like a track hawk who was a receiver who's a running back. You got your boy Campbell who can fly. Who did well in this system, and he the fastest guy on the team so far right now. You got guys like Gibson who got the speed, and you just need to get in space, but they didn't do a good job of getting him in space. That's speed guys. You still got Perry, speed guy. You still got what they call Scudero and people like that. You got these quick guys that you get the ball in space. That's a problem. You still got the talent like Moore. You give these guys the ball in space because it's gonna be never space. Either it's gonna be space on the outside or it's gonna be space on the inside because of the movement. The movement creates space. Somebody gonna bump into each other, have a brain fart, and it's gonna be a busted coverage, and it's gonna be space. And after a while, they watching that too hard. It's gonna open up your receiver game because what you ain't gonna be able to double him. You gonna double him on one on top, one on one. And so now you're gonna put resources out there, and you got these running backs running out in the flats full speed. Your linebacker can't run with them. Your running back can't run with track hall out in the flats. See, I got no football. I know I don't talk X and O's like a lot of other guys. I'm giving to you broken down baby food style. Imagine you got track hall in the backfield standing beside, let's say you got track hall back there, and you got my guy from Georgia. I'm not Georgia, Alabama. Y'all got both of them in the backfield, and you got Juju in the backfield. And then you got Gibson come in motion, swing back there like he about to go behind and go back for the option. And then you got track hawk run this way, and then Juju acting like he finna pitch and he dump it out the track hawk. And track hawk wide open the flat. Cause linebacker don't know, do I come down on Juju or do I catch this running back coming out the backfield? It's a lot of things that, man, it's ugly. It's ugly. You know, y'all got to pay attention to the matchup problems that you create. See, the problem last year, they didn't create the matchup problems. They didn't build a scheme around the matchup problem. Salter was a matchup problem. Trackhawk was a matchup problem. They didn't use them properly. You had Gibson. You had my boy, I'm looking at him from Campbell. Fast receiver. You just run him on a go route every now and then. He busted open. Tell me in the chat. I'm looking right at his face. You got people wide open. You're not using them. You're not using your pieces. Yeah, you say Trackhawk running 4.5. I doubt he ran 4.5. He probably ran a bad 40. Trackhawk probably a 4.4 guy. Probably like a 4.4. You gotta remember Trackhawk got hurt, man. You gotta remember Trackhawk probably still recovering. Trackhawk had a boot on. So his speed, it looked like he put on some weight and everything. I said he looked bigger. You got somebody who was in the boot, they couldn't run. Do you not realize that? He's either been silly, everything. Trackhawk was, he had a boot on. So his legs not full up under him. He's not in track shape after you wearing a boot for the whole fall. That means you couldn't run, you couldn't train. So if he ran a 4.5 straight out the boot, then he's definitely a 4.4 guy once he gets his legs back up under him. Now, is he a 4.3 guy? No, but Campbell is. Is Gibson a 4.3 guy? I don't know. He probably like a Jimmy. He probably a low 4.4, high 4.3 on a good day. But what does that do in space? What's the point? Do you comprehend what that is? If they're coming out there, Sincere Brown, appreciate you, Allen. If they're out in space, who covering them? These guys coming out the backfield. Who covering them? Your cornerbacks is covering the receivers. Who covering track out the backfield? That's a freaking linebacker, man. What linebacker do you know? There ain't too many linebackers running 4.5. If they do, they going straight to the NFL. It ain't too many linebackers that run a 4.5, legit. There ain't too many safeties that run a 4.5. So again, if Track Hawk running a 4.5 straight out the boot, he gonna run past most of your linebackers and most of your safeties. And that's a matchup nightmare, and that's a heartbreak waiting to happen. Because if he get an open field, he done. That's the danger of this scheme, y'all. I'm trying to help y'all understand this scheme is designed, and he can design how he want to get certain matchups. You got Campbell, you got Perry, you got Cadero, you got all these guys that they can be in the backfield and end up a receiver, end up in the backfield, and they moving. And when they move, somebody got to move with them. And when they move with them, what chess piece? You playing chess. You playing chess. If you move him, does the DB got to realize, do I come here or do I stay out here? Because some going out there. He run his butt up in there, and then somebody else go out there in the open field. He better be fast to get with him. Whatever movement this man doing, it's designed to create a look. It's designed to create an opening. That's what everybody who he playing against going to quickly have to realize. So you got a very creative, very productive offense, a very hungry coordinator, a very motivated coordinator, a lot of underrated guys who don't have no ego. That sounds a lot like Indiana in a lot of ways. You didn't know them running backs. You didn't know them receivers. Everybody was, oh, we got rid of Amari and Miller. You knew them. You can get to know these guys too. But the thing is, the team that won the national championship, you didn't know them guys. You still don't know them. They are the future of college sports. The guys who make it to the top because they deserve it and they want an opportunity to show they belong there. They ain't asking for NIL money necessarily. They're not asking for the spotlight. They only want to play at this level. So when you dog a guy from coming from Sacramento State, San Jose, you dog a guy from coming from Miami, Ohio, you know, Bowling Green, you dogging these guys. Just remember, these guys got something to prove. That's a more dangerous guy than a guy who like give me my money, I'm sending out. I'm supposed to be a superstar and they suck. They ain't produce nothing. These guys gonna go watch the film. They gonna do the stuff the other guys weren't doing that made you lose. This is proof how they gonna win. This is proof how they gonna win. If you ain't comprehend what I said, you being silly now. I already don't say it. If you gotta come out of the boot running, y'all be saying stuff, y'all show y'all ain't played no ball. If you come out of a boot, I don't been in a boot before, and you running at speed that the average person can't run that shows you are already faster than them. Because your legs are not back. You can't freaking run in a boot. Because you're in a boot. So you ain't training. So if I come out of a boot and I'm just getting back in shape and I'm running a 4.5, you're a clown to say that's what I run. You're being goofy. Like that's a childish one. Because I'm telling you, if I run a 4.5 and I'm not in shape, you best believe that ain't my speed. That's just a given. My speed is gonna be in the low 4.4s or probably 4.3s once I get back in shape. So it's just what we said. Plum's such a dog. Yeah, Plum's got a chip on his shoulder, man. He 5'9", that man don't broke all the records. He don't play of the game. He don't broke every kind of stereotype you have towards a little DB. To say they can't do this, can't do that. He did it before. He said he can't do it at this level, and he did it not only at the highest level, but all the way to the national championship. You can't say nothing. But that's the type of guy you want. You want the type of guy that people doubt. You want the type of guy that people look down on. You want the type of guy to say, "Oh, you from that little school? You too small. You did." That guy gonna give you more trouble than the guy who must all that with the chains around his neck and acting like he ain't gonna show up and you need him. You send his butt on to the high dollar place he at to go let him get humbled with the other players um who actually played in the SEC, who actually on your level, and let them humble you because you're only guy with us. You respect the fact that you got to be that guy with us. And go over there and be a regular guy with all them other 5 stars, 4 stars. You ain't even that, and go be cute over there and see if that work. But you want to stunt on Colorado because you knew they made you feel like you was one of a kind. I hope you understand what I'm saying. These are the things why I feel these guys are going to be better. Because if they had half of these tools this year, they would have been better this year. There was only a few players and really a system away from being right here to getting over the hump. Over the hump is not losing the games by 3 points that you had to lead on, like a BYU and a Georgia Tech. That's a hump. That's 2 humps right there. They get you at 5. Humps is getting you over the hump of not of letting TCU pull away from you at the end. Getting over the hump is not playing around with West Virginia and beating their garbage behind. Now you at 7. Getting over the hump is being in Houston when you got a quarterback scandal back and forth. You went back and forth with them, not even knowing who your quarterback was till they pulled away. And like they were so much better than you. They happened late in the game. You beat them. That would be 8. Getting over the hump. I don't know what would happen to Arizona. But I know getting over the hump playing around with Arizona State like they something, and then let them pull away. Get over the hump, playing around with your boys up there at Kansas State. The hump. The hump is all these games when you going like this and your offense just can't score. The defense struggling until they finally give in. The hump is, oh, they can win this game. They should win this game. Iowa State, it just went their way. But there was another game. They like, here, you get the game. No, you get the game. Iowa State must wanted to give away more. That's the game's, the hump. And how do you get over that hump? Production, talent, schemes that get you over the hump. A couple rights play calls, they would have been at least a 500 team. But just that alone made them lose some games. So when you look at all of these different things, and yeah, defense, I talked about them. I think the linebacker core is way better. This is the best linebacker core. I'm going to say it, stamp it, and approve it. Colorado has the best linebacker core than they've had in a while. Than they had in Colorado as far as up on the Coach Prime. This would be their best linebacker core. I'll tell you that right now. I ain't got to say them in equipment, just the combination of players. They haven't had that. They had a lot of guys who was hurt before, on the bench before, or who was young, unproven. They got like an all-star team of linebackers they can pick from. And they got two very talented freshmen, true freshman linebackers. The best true freshman linebackers they've had. A lot of people I see say the Somalians are coming in. I'm glad that he finally got y'all Somalis. And thanks to Pico. He has some value there. A lot of people, need some Somalis. You got them. You just got one where he's 6'3", 275. He need to lose some weight. And if he don't, he going to be a plug. It's Pico going to train him personally, hopefully, to teach him how to have leverage. Because you 6'3", you got leverage. Because at the very least, the center going to be your height. And if those doggone guards is 6'6", 6'5", you up on them. That's why Block Bullet was so effective, because he was already up under you and he played low. So if Pico do his job and mentor this boy, he gonna be raw hell. He need that big old button, big old legs, and he go duck walking around that field or whatever. If he can be low at 375, how you move it? That's a fire hydrant. If he learns how to stay low and not stand his butt straight up and chest bump, if he learn how to stay low, he already 6'3". Most of the linemen gonna be taller than him at this level. If he learned to stay low, you can't move 375 and it's lower than you. BBL Pico Jr. You can't, that boy built like he bigger than Pico. If you doggone can't move this boy, if that boy learn how to stay low at 375 in that one, you're not moving him. Because first of all, ain't gonna be too many guards that's gonna be 375. Even if he go down to 350, if he learn to stay low, you're not moving him. If he stand his butt up like Barnes and all that, you're gonna move him like Christmas tree. Pico didn't teach leverage last year. I don't know what he taught, but I know he didn't have a prototypical guy in the middle either. Barnes was freaking 6'6". What are we talking about? I'm talking about people who, how can you use leverage in the middle and you 6'6", 6'5"? There is no leverage. His butt stood straight up because he's glad to get out that stand, how big he is. He need to put his butt off the edge somewhere. You need a short, stubby something. 6'3" is a good height. Because they won't respect the 6 foot, but I like shorter the better. Because they gonna have to get down to your level to block you. And then you is heavy. You heavy. If he got any, let him live and eat in the weight room. If he had any kind of leg strength and he 375, man, that's a hard load to move. It's gonna take at least two guys to move him. Two guys gonna have to move him at least. Block Bullet take on 2 to 3 guys. Then Block Bullet, he probably be a good coach. If he don't make it in the NFL, I hope they let him come back and be like a grad, because his technique will sound. He will have a future in coaching. I don't know anybody ever said that, but he clearly had a strategy that worked. And teach them boys how to take on them blocks. Put them on a wrestling mat during the off season. That's another thing. That'll help all of them, really. They're doing all that with the arm, and that's cute. Put a wrestling mat out there and bring a wrestling coach and teach all of them how to wrestle. And then bring in somebody who do like personal, what you call it, self-defense, some type of martial art. Teach them how to use their hands on the defense and offensive line. NDBs. It made a big difference when I went and wrestled and came back my senior year. My leverage, my aggression, my how I use my body was night and day. Some of the best guys who play ball was wrestlers at every position. Block Buddy wrestled. JB, he was a top wrestler, but it didn't translate for him to me. Because I don't know, he was a true linebacker. He just didn't know how to use his hands. And he didn't understand the position. He was truly an edge guy. The outside backer come off the edge. He didn't want no Mike or no Will. Yeah, a wrestler, man, they know how to use their leverage. That's what wrestling teach you. Because you get your butt up high on the wrestling mat, somebody gonna scoop and dump your behind. So you learn how to stay low, because you don't stay low, somebody gonna get low and it's a wrap. He gonna bulldog you or he gonna scoop you. So wrestling teach you how to stay low, and it also teach you how to control the man with your hands while you stay low. Because you got to be able to control people with your hands to keep them off of you. Or else, if you don't know how to use your hands wrestling mat, they're gonna ball you up. So they got a lot of guys, man. They got guys coming in. They got a new tight end coach. They got new linebacker coach, new DB coach. I'm interested to see that for sure. And they moved Mathis to Nichols, which is number the slot, and they kept him on staff basically. But I want to see what that new DB coach do. And far as development, because it's in the pudding, man. The last few years, DBs have been trash. They have never had a good year. They had good players like Travis, but I mean, Travis had his own DB coach. You seen Travis had his own trainers. You didn't necessarily develop Travis, so it's going to be interesting. But I'm going to say this with good faith. I believe Colorado already is better. How much better? That's up to them. I can't give you no number, but I'm telling you, the offense is already better. Talent-wise, scheme-wise, they're already better, period. So because they're better, if you play Colorado the exact same way, let's just take the scheme and the coach, and you plug that into last year, they would have beat half of the games they lost. They would have beat half the games they lost. Because the scheme was the problem on offense. They couldn't scheme their way into nothing. Everything was quote unquote vanilla. Everything was predictable. Really, since Shador was there, he throwing the ball to these little sideways bubble screens. Your running game is like unimpactful. They don't even fear you coming out of there. They don't fear you coming out the backfield. Your tight ends is irrelevant. Your receiver routes are garbage. He just running straight down the field. They run the same area. It's just garbage. So at the end of the day, trust and know they're going to be better. They're already better personnel-wise, coaching and player. They're already better. The question is, how much better? They got better talent. Coach Prime said, this is a better team. No, this is the better team. Last year wasn't the better team. They had more experience. They go back to that age conversation. They had almost 40 upperclassmen and They had more experience last year. But as a team, clearly they wasn't better as a team. And I think the scheme in itself hurt them as a team. And I believe you put Salter in the go-go, I think he's better off. I think he looked more like my boy Jaden Daniels than whatever he looked like. Scheme does matter. Salter would have been very effective. He's a year late. You would not have had that situation. And then you would have had Juju having a chance to learn it for a year. He's a year late, unfortunately. But you can't control time. But I think they're going to be able to do something. I think they're going to customize it to the players they got. I think it's going to open up the offense. I think it's going to take pressure off of Juju. Because you sit here and do the stupid mess like last year and drop him back and let everybody blitz him. That ain't going to benefit him. It ain't going to benefit him. They got to respect the fact that they bring their butt off the edge. You coming right off the tackle, and you running for 20, 30 yards, and you bruising their DBs until they going to be gashed. They ain't going to be able to cover nobody. That's the type of offense you got to have. The linebackers got to be more worried about the run coming right off their butt than them trying to blitz every doggone play to get to the quarterback and trying to outmatch and outnumber your line. That's the difference. They're not gonna be able to just load up on you in the box like they done for really the last 2, really 3 years when Shador was there. And they did it this year because they knew Salter wasn't throwing in deep, and he throwing the ball sideways, and he just throw it right into the defensive line hand and knock it down. They didn't weren't gonna have no time to get the ball, none of them non-developing routes. They weren't doing no drags, they weren't running nothing. The route concepts was not beneficial for you to get the ball to them because they wait till dude get too far down the field. He sat. So they don't want music. Yeah, these guys are different, man. They already told the coach, when we got problems, we'll deal with it. They are already policing themselves. They are already self-managing themselves. They already got leaders, man. They don't just got veterans, they got leaders. They got multiple leaders from other schools who they was leaders. So you ain't got an issue of who gonna be the leader. They got leaders. They already know how to be a leader. They got 1 year left. They are true leaders. They just gotta learn how to lead together. And I'm telling you, it's easier to lead together than to be one leader competing with a bunch of knuckleheads. It's already different, y'all. So with that, y'all, I'm go ahead and leave. Appreciate y'all coming through. Appreciate y'all in the chat. Y'all watch the replay. Make sure y'all like, share, subscribe, comment, and I'll be talking to y'all soon.